Hi, and welcome to another episode of Tad of Running. My name is Nahash. Welcome. So today we're going to be talking about Tad of running from responsibility. So it's quite weird that recently in Kenya we've been having a wave of Gen Z um, activities in the last month or month and a half, and and one of the things that came up was a question: would youth be willing to run for places of responsibility? And yeah, I just been thinking about it, and I found as part of a curriculum I'm doing, a training. There's a book that we got to read. It's called Leadership, and it's still by Ellen White. And there's a couple of things that it talks about leadership in the point of Christianity and leading God's people. But I think there's a thing or two to borrow that generally speak about leadership and being a leader. And so, like as usual, as my last episode was, I did like a collection of favorite quotes that I'm gonna go through and share my thoughts on it. So as we go along, the question is: are you a leader? Are you being called upon to be a leader? And are you a good leader? Are you an upright and honest and integral leader? So I'm gonna start with a quote. I have often been instructed that by the Lord that no man's judgment should be surrendered to the judgment of any other one man. Never should the mind of one man or the minds of a few men be regarded as sufficient in wisdom and power to control the work and to say what plans should be followed. But when, in a general conference, which is a gathering that happens every 5 years, where the leaders from all of the world of the church gather to make critical decisions, choose leaders. So, when the general conference, a judgment has been exercised, private independence and private judgment must not be stubborn and stubbornly maintained, but surrendered. Never should a laborer regard as a virtue the persistent maintenance of his position of independence, contrary to the decision of the general body. Yeah, it goes on. But there's been something going on recently about a preacher in the States. His name is Conrad Vine. And he has mentioned about some of the shortcomings of the leadership of the Seventh day Adventist Church, um, especially as regards to allowing members to exercise their conscience. And so, one of the things he brought up was um, the church did not speak up against people, against any freedom to either take the COVID-19 vaccine or not. And yeah, it's been a heated topic. He's been cancelled across different churches and platforms and what have you. But but what I was just thinking is, yeah, leadership is hard. Like, you think the leaders can do better. You get into those leadership positions, and you realize it's not as easy, and it calls for so much humility and grace, because that's the only way it would work. And yeah, when people gather who are called by God's name, even though they are flawed and sinful, I think that there's something about this quote that helps me to know that I can make my decisions, but I should know that I should not always protest about decisions made by men of God. And and yeah, men of God could be really, really flawed. But when a certain decision is made in a group of men who are ordained to partake a certain work, leadership, it's okay. I do have my power of choice still. I could decide to leave, I could decide to not follow, I could decide to go against what they say, but I shouldn't be the one to stir up people to follow my thoughts. Just the same way I don't want others to influence my decisions in a wrong way. So I shouldn't be quick to try to force everyone to go my own way. And that's the thing about leadership that happens a lot. Like, we find a lot of leaders always wanting their way. And there's another quote I read. and this was based on family. It was saying that you can't force your way and expect for love to remain. So many of us really feel like we could bulldoze our way through leadership and have our way because we know what's best and it's for the best of everyone. But God is asking us to be humble, to let others have their freedom of choice. And closely related to that is a quote I saw here. hmm Yeah, was that? Um, yeah, I keep losing it, keep losing it. But yeah, I probably get it later. But yeah, each of us has been given ideas and thoughts, and we should embrace each other's thoughts as leaders, encouraging others to give of their best because each and every person has a different gift as given by the Holy Spirit. And so we should be encouraging people to use their gifts to grow the kingdom of God. So let me read the second quote. Um, Those engaged in the work of God cannot serve his cause acceptably unless they make the best use possible of the religious privileges they enjoy. We are as trees planted in the garden of the Lord, and he comes to us seeking the fruit he has a right to expect. His eye is upon each of us, he reads our hearts and understands our lives. This is a solemn search, for it has reference to duty and to destiny. And with what interest is it prosecuted? Let each of those whom are committed sacred trusts inquire, how do I meet the inspecting eye of God? Is my heart cleansed from its defilement, or have its temple courts been so desecrated, so occupied with buyers and sellers that Christ finds no room? Um, yeah, the bustle of business, if continuous, will dry up spiritually. Busyness, yeah, will dry up spirituality and leave the soul Christless. Um, yeah, um, I've been learning recently from my mistakes, um, which are many. But one of the verses that I've been really, 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 really thinking about is Jeremiah 17. And it talks about the heart is deceitful above all else. Who can understand it? And then the next verse says, it is I, the Lord, who understands the heart. And one of my friends recently said something in a discussion we were having, and she was like, we need to cultivate more self mistrust, self distrust. That we need to trust ourselves less and trust God more. And I feel like it's easy for us to be so confident in our ability to do things, to to lead people or to do the right thing for God. Yet God knows that we are weak, and we should know that we are weak. We are just but dust. And God is asking us to, learn to trust him in a way where he gets to help us. He be the one that guides us. Philippians 2 verse 13 says, for it is God who is at work in you both to will and to do his good pleasure. And what that means is that he is working his will through us if we just surrender, if we trust ourselves less and trust him more. Now, the question isn't usually that. Like, I think we know that in theory, but the problem is when it comes to practical. We've grown up being told that, if you work hard, you're gonna succeed. If you put in the work, put in the effort, you're gonna succeed and get a good job and a good house and all those things. And so I think what that has made us think is that it's only by our efforts that we get to do what is right. So if something bad, and that also means that if something bad happens, it's because we didn't do stuff. So many a times we fail to see any other perspective towards failures and successes. When we get successes, we tend to glorify ourselves. When we get failures, we tend to put ourselves down and end up having so many thoughts, so many depressing thoughts. But what God is saying is, if you surrender to me, then you get to see things differently. Even as a leader, when things aren't going your way, you're trying to mobilize people to do a certain thing. You're trying to push your company or your business in a certain direction, and your employees don't just get it. I think it now comes to bring us to see it as a different war. It's we're playing on a different level. There's a song I like. It says, "Stay high." It says, "You can't catch a bird when it's flying in the air." And so the devil can't catch a saint when he's flying in full flight. And what full flight means here is in constantly in connection with God, such that he helps us become better and better and better through everything. Um yeah. We may never know until the judgment the influence of a kind, considerate course of action to the inconsistent and unreasonable and unworthy. We may never know until the judgment the influence of a kind, considerate course of action to the inconsistent, the unreasonable, the unworthy. So here I have a really beautiful example. During my graduation some time back, I posted a photo of me in my graduation gown, and someone just people, of course, people were replying to it, congratulations, all the best in the future, and all those sort of things. And then I got one comment, like I hadn't seen it. You see on Instagram, there's this section where requests come, where when you don't follow someone and they send you a message, then it goes to that category. So sorry. So I read it, and it was someone else who was also sort of in the same field and in medicine. And so he was like, "Doc, congratulations. I'm sure you can't remember this, but a couple of months ago, I came to your place of study and work, and I was really confused. I didn't know how to go about my rotation there, and you are the only one in that place who guided me, was so patient with me, told me what I needed to do, showed me things around, and explained to me concepts that I wouldn't have otherwise understood." And he ended it like this: "I know the public is gonna love you. You're gonna be a great doctor." And man, I almost cried. I remember I screenshot it and sent it to a friend. And the reason this was so heartwarming is because in those moments when all that was happening, I had no single idea that this is what was happening. And that's the thing about kindness. I think when we like that one act of kindness, I'm not saying I'm always kind. I try, but I fail. But that example leaves such a mark on me, and it's a potent reminder that no kindness goes unrewarded. Yeah. We may do small acts of kindness that may seem not so much in the start. It doesn't feel like it's making any difference, but what's happening actually is that God is seeing us, and he's rewarding us, and people are getting to know God through your kindness. And that's the thing about leadership. When people mess up, people who are still learning on the job, people who are still trying to find out how to go about things in your company, who are messing up, when you are kind, even when the first reaction is to want to fire them or to just throw your anger at them, and you take that all in and just be kind, God has a way of making sure that changes that person's life and changes yours as well. Yeah. Yeah, time for prayer. Be sure to pray and counsel together before laying your plans, and then, in the Spirit of Christ. Push the work unitedly. If one of you decides that he cannot cooperate with the others and has no desire to work because of differences of opinion, the cause is still to be pursued. Humble yourselves before God and resort to prayer, for you can't and must not attempt to work at variance. Yeah, I was just trying to internalize that. I realized dependence on God again, prayer. One of the reasons I think we run away from responsibilities because we trust ourselves a lot. Yeah. So you look at your strength and you're like, no, I really can't do this. I'm really not able to do this. It's a lot. It's overwhelming. I already have other things that I'm dealing with. But what this reminds me actually is that it is possible, because we don't have to do, especially God's work, on our own strength. When God gives you purpose and meaning to your life, He gives you the strength along with it so that you can be able to handle it. And so, yeah. So let's talk a bit about pride. But the position does not make the man. It is the integrity of character, the Spirit of Christ that makes him thankful and selfish without partiality and without hypocrisy. It is this that is of value with God. To those whose life is hidden with Christ in God, God says, "Behold, I have graven thee upon the palms of my hands. Thy walls are continually before me." Yeah, this is from Isaiah 49, verse 16. And it just reminds me that we are to daily just surrender. It's not the position that's important, it's the values that we've been given. So many of us are elevated and we get proud and we start behaving in ways that do not represent who we are as Christians. But God is actually saying that the reason you're there isn't because you're too good at the position. It's because I'm calling you to be more kind and more accommodating and patient and have integrity and have moral values and all of that. Yeah, I really like this one because it's a bit controversial. Responsible for those who follow the example. Leaders are responsible not only for their unsanctified mistakes, but for the mistakes of those who follow the examples. Makes me wonder whether there's sanctified mistakes and unsanctified mistakes. Yeah, but anyway, they cannot depend. When reproved for bringing in wrong principles, a spirit that will not be corrected is wrong. So anyway, I just happen to be a pastor's child, and along my short life so far of making mistakes, I have encountered people who would make comments like, "But you're a pastor's child, but this is a pastor's child. How could they make such a mistake? How could they do this?" And for a very long time, that was really, really, really hurtful. I guess to me, I guess also to my parents, I guess. But I finally realized why this happens. There's no way we can expect that we'll have positions of influence and not have people looking at you in that light. People are gonna look at you and are gonna say that, "I thought this person is a singer in church. I thought this person does this." And so many times that are fallen, regardless of this image that of representing God, and also so many times that we do fall. I really have to sink that into myself, that I have to be okay with people criticizing me on the basis of who I am, the positions of responsibility that I have. The fact that you have spoken about God, that you have sung about God, that you have probably helped people know God, then they're going to have expectations towards us. And there's no way we can run from that responsibility. I see so many times saying, don't judge, but we're humans. And that's so true. But there's no way we can pretend that we are not called to a higher standard. And so anyway, so that makes me think that that's another way we are running from responsibility. Um, it's by knowing that when we are responsible for something, then we can, or someone, or some place, or whatever, then it means we should be held accountable to it and to those responsibilities. And perhaps that's why you're avoiding, that's why I'm avoiding some responsibilities, because you don't want to be held accountable, which goes back to you're trusting too much in yourself, or you don't want to let go and surrender to God and change some things in your life. And I mean, this is really tiring, because until, I guess, I'm learning that until I fully let go and leave it to God, then I'm not really gaining or benefiting, or learning. And until I fully surrender, then I don't really have the joy. And so if you're running away from responsibility because of fear of being held accountable, then remember that God can give you the strength to be accountable, and that whatever you don't want to let go, it's actually stealing away your joy. Yeah, so let me see. Hmm. If there were more prayer, sorry, I think we did that. Oh, how many might do a noble work in self-denial and self-sacrifice, who are absorbed in the little things of life. They are blind and cannot see afar off. They make a world of an atom and an atom of a world. They have become shallow streams because they do not impart to others the water of life. So this goes to leaders who are highly yeah, I don't know what to call it, but I think it's personality as well. People who are, quick to anger, and people who are impatient and want people to have figured out things. Why don't you know this? You should know this. Why didn't you do the right thing? You don't deserve to be here. God is actually asking us to, and the quote I'm getting from this book is prompting me to think that perhaps we need to just be easy, man. Like just be easy, just be cool. You don't have to always get angry when someone does a mistake. And we are or we should be able to forgive, be quick to help. Oh, this is not how it's done. You would have done it a certain way. Could I help you? What can I do to help you do it better? I feel like kindness as a concept is underrated. Um, but yeah, if we are to be great leaders, make a difference in the world, then we need to show people that we value them, regardless of them making mistakes. And that also brings me back to running away from responsibility. Yeah, like perhaps we run away because we know our weaknesses, and we understand that our weaknesses could be jeopardizing our credibility. And what this is reminding me is surrender. I think that's the whole point, man. Like, it's just surrendering to God, who promises to help you through, even when you're not sure how to surrender, even when you're not sure how to give up and trust Him. And yeah, I've run away from responsibility so many times, letting others take the blame, and letting others be the ones who struggle, so that I didn't have to. But if it was easy, everyone would do it. Yeah. If responsibility was easy, if being a parent, being a spouse, being a true genuine friend, if being someone who's responsible for people's lives, if being a church leader, being a music leader, being a teacher, being a business owner who has employees, if all of that was easy, then everyone would have it. But it's not, meaning God is calling you to be different. And so if you're in a position where God is calling you to responsibility, it's my prayer that you stop running, that you embrace Him, and that you may surrender and develop more self-distrust. So I'm tired of running from responsibility. I hope you are too.